So what are linear light and vivid light? Well, as I said in the last video, vivid light has color burn and color dodge. Color burn to darken anything below 128 in luminance value, and color dodge to lighten anything above 128 in luminance value. Whereas linear light has linear burn and linear dodge, where linear burn is used to darken anything below 128 in luminance value, and linear dodge to lighten anything above 128 in linear value. Now, keep in mind on these guys, you can clip, so watch out for that. But what's nice about both the vivid light and linear light, you can use the fill opacity to adjust them. Now let's take a look real fast at vivid light. And the formula I have for this is division on the light one, so we can expect some clipping. We have the background layer divided by 200% minus 2 times the active layer. And if you're darkening it, well, that is 1 minus, and then we've got all this formula, which would read as 100% minus, so this is the invert of the background, divided by the twice the amount of the active layer. But because of that 1 minus, this whole thing becomes inverted. So let's just take a look at it, because that's generally easier to understand. Let me pop in over here. We'll take a look at vivid light first. So right now we have it on pin light. Here it is normal. Let's set it to vivid light. That's actually very beautiful. Let's take a look at what the fill opacity does as compared to the opacity. I think that works quite well. You can use the fill opacity to remove a lot of the clipping that's occurring. However, we're getting a lot of clipping in the lighter areas, which is to be expected anytime you see a division going on in there. So don't forget that we can always apply it to its own image. So I'm going to make this dummy layer here, and I'm going to set it, instead of pin light, which will do nothing, to vivid light. Now we can see that it's really blowing out a lot. So what do? Let's go ahead and drop down the fill opacity to have less of that effect. There we go. Before, after. So we can increase the contrast, and a little goes a long way with vivid light. Let's go ahead and take a look at linear light. The formula I have for that is just 2a plus b minus 1. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. As I was saying, let me pop back over here. Over here, there we go. As I was saying, the linear light has the combination of the linear dodge and linear burn equations, and it's a little odd because instead of having to go if above a certain amount dodge, if below a certain amount burn, it can just use one equation. And so the equation that it uses is 2 times the active layer plus the background layer, and then minus 1, which I think is absolutely fascinating. It's also a little bit strange, but let's see what that really means if we were to apply it. So let's first apply it to its own effect. I'm going to set it to linear light. And you can see that as compared to vivid light, linear light is a bit softer as it goes. Now it is adjustable by the fill opacity as compared to the opacity. But more interesting is if we take 2 images and set it up. So here we have vivid light, linear light. And again, that was with fill opacity down. With fill opacity up, you can see that they are very, very different as they go, which makes sense because it's the difference is the simple addition in the event of a lighter color, which means we're getting the lighter colors and all over the place. And let me bring this back up. The simple addition, can't seem to click today. The simple addition of anything above, but also a dampened addition of anything below. But that really means 2 times the active layer plus the background layer minus 1. So it does frequently favor the active layer, but that's not a rule. It really depends on what you're using. So let's go ahead and poke at it in another way. We'll just go ahead and set this. Hey, remember the candies? We got the candies. Go ahead and set this to linear light, and then we'll set this one to our linear dodge. Linear dodge, I'm sorry, our opposite of linear dodge, our linear burn, and we'll set this one, I had them upside down, this one to our linear burn. And I still have them backwards in my head. Linear burn for the darkening, linear dodge add for the lightning. So here we have the two separated, and here we have vivid light. You can see that they are really pretty much the same. Now, there is a slight difference on our big gradient. See this brightness going on? As compared to these guys, well, that's just because of the gradient itself rather than anything else, so don't worry about that. Okay, so that's essentially the effect. You can get that with just one formula, which I find pretty fascinating. Okay, so all of that said, as I roll on back to our previous image. Okay, all that said, you can get some fascinating blends going on with these. That also leaves just one more, and that's hard mix. So let's go ahead and talk about hard mix in brief. I know we spoke about it earlier, but in case people are coming back to review videos, we'll talk about it again. See you next video.